Hey there, it's BoardGameDave, and Happy New Year, everybody. I hope your 2025 is off to an amazing start already. 2025 is kind of wild to say out loud. I've been running this channel since 2021, so it's been quite the journey already, but today we're doing my 2024 Wrapped, taking a look at my year in review using, of course, Board Game Stats, an app that I rave about constantly, and if you don't have Board Game Stats and you play board games often, you should definitely get it. But before we get to the nitty-gritty details of the specific games that I played this past year, let's take a look at some general stats of 2024 as a whole. So starting with, I logged 459 plays of 140 different games this past year, about half of which were new to me. I played board games with 174 different people and spent about 339 hours playing board games, which is kind of a lot. And below that it says I spent 184 out of 365 days playing games, which is absolutely absurd. I am so grateful and fortunate and lucky to have friends and family around me that love to play board games, starting with Hannah, who is my main board gaming partner in my gaming escapades. But my guess is that you're here to find out the specific games that I played the most this past year. So let's go ahead and start with the games that I played the most times in 2024. Now, I do find that this is not a terribly useful metric because it kind of biases toward, of course, light family filler games because, of course, you know, those are shorter, you can play them more often, multiple times in one gaming session, so on and so forth. But with that caveat out of the way, the 10 games that I played the most times this past year were: number 10, Divinus with 8 plays. This is a legacy campaign style game that we'll talk about in a little bit. Number 9 was Regicide. This is a fantastic game that I kind of stumbled across, and I've been playing solo only with a regular deck of cards, but it's a great kind of deck building, you know, boss defeating kind of game. Ink and Gold, I played 11 times this past year. It's a wonderful push your luck game. I introduce this all the time to new players. We just played it over the holidays with some family. Hive Pocket, I played 11 times. Hannah and I really enjoyed this game. It's a small game you can take anywhere. We played at the beach, in the sand, out in the yard in the grass. So lovely little chess-like game. Let's see, number 6 was That's Not a Hat, which is a wonderful game that was sent to me by Ravensburger. It's just a memory game, and it seems so simple, but it's actually very infuriatingly frustrating because you just cannot remember 5 items. It's absolutely crazy. Hannah does not like that one, but I find it's very fun and silly. Number 5 is Sea Salt and Paper. We played this 14 times. Hannah and I love playing this game at 2 players. I think it really shines at 2. It's a wonderful game with gorgeous origami art, and you're basically just trying to collect sets to score points and trigger different abilities, and it's beautiful and wonderful and so compact, and we can play it on the couch on an evening. It's wonderful. Number 4 is Harmonies, a game that I found this year, and I've been absolutely enthralled, as has basically the entire board gaming community. It's so beautiful, it's so satisfying and puzzly, and basically you're drafting these little circular wooden discs and putting them on your board to complete certain patterns to get animals and critters to join your ecosystem. It's beautiful, fantastic. I played it 14 times, like I said. It's number 4. Number 3 is Mythwind, which we'll talk about a lot more in a sec. This is a big box campaign game that I played 17 times in 2024. Number 2 is a game called Cluster. I played this 20 times. It's very simple. You've got magnets and you're trying to get rid of them by putting them inside a little yarn, a little string. And if magnets clack together, you take those magnets and you just try to run out of magnets. Super simple, very fun. You know, very simple concept there. And then the game that I played the most in 2024 was a game called Strike, again sent to me by Ravensburger. This is an amazing game. We played it 25 times. You can teach it to your grandma, to your aunt, to your great-great-grand aunt Bertrude, okay? You have a little arena, coliseum of sorts, and you have some dice, and you want to be the last person with dice. So on your turn, you chuck a die in there, and you want to get sets. If you get, 3 2s, for example, you get to keep those dice. If you roll a X, they go out of the coliseum, and that's basically the gist. It's really fun. You get to do a little bit of pushing your luck. There's some agency there. It's also very random and chaotic, but it's a lot of fun. So those are the 10 games that I played the most times this past year. All right, but now let's take a look at the games that I spent the most time playing in 2024. And this is where I find the games that I really love start to show up, because they're the meatier, thinkier, strategy Euro games. And even if I only played them, 4 times, they might be, 10 hours of playtime potentially. So we're going to talk about the 14 games that I played the most, because there was a 5-way tie for 10th place. So we'll go through these very quickly. So Wild Gardens, a beautiful resource collecting game. It's beautiful, gorgeous art. I just reviewed this recently on the channel. Very lovely. Clans of Caledonia, an amazing classic from 2017 with the new Industrial expansion, which is right around here somewhere. Really makes it, just shine. Black Forest, which I just got at PAX Unplugged in the beginning of December, and it's already in my top 10 most played by time. Flow, which is a game from Pika Games, related to Fantasia Games, which I got the prototype for, and Luthier from Paverson Games, which is all about building instruments in the Baroque, classical, romantic eras in Europe. So those were all tied for 5th place with 7 hours played. So some gorgeous, lovely games that I was very lucky, grateful to be able to review. But anyway, yeah, there you go. That's Luthier. So anyway, I've reviewed every single one of those games on my channel, so you can take a look at those if you get the chance. Moving on to 9th place, this is Harmonies, which we just talked about. We spent 9 hours playing this game in 2024. And again, you're collecting these tokens to attract these different critters to your ecosystem. And the art is just absolutely gorgeous. I've mentioned before that these look almost like stickers. They're extremely adorable, very cute. Lovely art, and yeah, it's awesome. Great gameplay and gorgeous graphic design and art. Cute hedgehogs there. So that's Harmonies. Also with 9 hours is Great Western Trail. And what's really interesting about this is that I only played this solo, but I played it 8 times last year and logged 9 hours. So the funny thing is I've had this game since I think 2021. So it's funny that I kind of got re-obsessed with playing this game solo, but the 2nd edition comes with this phenomenal solo AI named Sam that you play against. And I just find the solo mode so compelling and very similar to playing against a human opponent. So I think that's partially why I love it so much. So, and the theme is great, and the mechanisms, oh my gosh, it's deck building, it's rondel, it's contract fulfillment, it's moving your train along and hiring people to, maximize your engine. Great Western Trail, if you haven't played it, is an absolutely amazing game by Alexander Pfister, one of my absolutely favorite designers. So that's number 8. Number 7 with 9 hours as well is Brussels 1893. By the way, I have some of these games around here. Great Western Trail is right here. And Brussels 1893 is a brand new 2023 game. And it reimagined the original Brussels 1893, which came out in 2013. So it's like a 10-year anniversary edition. And it is absolutely beautiful. And I was so obsessed with this game. Now, it's got a very interesting Art Nouveau style, but essentially you're putting your workers out on this grid, and depending on where you place them, there's 5 different actions you're going to take, but then you're also looking for the majority in each column, because you have to spend money to put your workers out. Whoever spends the most in each column gets this bonus down here. And with the Belle Epoque expansion, you're also looking at each row and whoever's in the majority of each row. And then each little flower icon here, you're looking at majorities around that icon. So it's this unbelievably brilliant combination of worker placement and area majority using those same workers. And it's incredible. There's a art market up here. There's actions you can take in the city here. You're going to recruit these different famous people from Brussels to help you with your, architecture and art and all those wonderful things. So Brussels 1893, very, very brilliant game. Number 6 is another older classic. This is Concordia from 2013. So this is a slightly dated game at this point, but still I think really holds its own as this phenomenal action selection game. And the whole gameplay is driven by these cards, and all you do on your turn literally is you play a card and do what it says. So You might have cards that let you put out more colonists on the board, or you might have one that lets you move them around to different city-states and build some new houses for trading, right? You might have ones that let you gather resources from different provinces, or collect taxes, or do some trading of resources so you can do more building and travel around more. And it's just brilliant. I've played Concordia so many times over the years, and I logged 10 hours of Concordia this past year. I think I probably played it solo a few times as well with the Solitaria expansion, which I highly recommend, by the way. It's a really good solo Automa, which I've talked about many times already, and I did a solo playthrough of it on the channel as well. So that's number 6. All right, now before we get to the top 5 on my list, my fellow East Coast people, there is a board game convention coming up very soon. It's January 31st to February 2nd in Woodbridge, New Jersey, called Level Up Retreat. It's a fantastic convention. I was there last year, and it was a really fantastic time. There's tournament games, there's a lot of open gaming, there's a ton of play-to-win games, and there's a whole bunch of content creators and special guests and VIPs like myself that'll be in attendance. So it's definitely one that you should check out. It is much smaller than your PAX Unplugged or your Origins or your Gen Con, so it's much more low-key. It feels much more personal and less overwhelming than those huge conventions, and it's small enough that you'll definitely get a chance to interact with your favorite content creators, either YouTube people or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. So it's a great way to kind of get to know, interact with, hopefully play some games with your favorite content creators. So if that sounds interesting to you, you should definitely check out Level Up Retreat. I'll have a link down in the description. I'll also have a link down there to my recap video from last year. You can check out, kind of get a feel for the vibe as well. So anyway, check it out, and back to the list. Number 5 was Galactic Cruise, which is a game that I raved about last week as my number 1 new to me game of 2024. Spoiler alert if you didn't watch that video already, but I was lucky enough to be sent the prototype, and although I didn't have it for very long, I was able to log 5 plays for 12 total hours of playtime of this game. I played it at, I think, 3 players, 4 players, and solo. I think that's correct. But anyway, it's by a brand new team of designers, TK King, Colton Thompson, and Dennis Northcott, and art by Ian O'Toole. And this game is just phenomenal. And I know you probably think I'm just a hype man for this game. I'm truly not. I just find it so incredibly compelling. I've played one Lacerda game, Inventions, I think, in my life, but it has that sort of quintessential Lacerda feel where there's so much to do, and it's a fairly long and complicated and heavy game, but at the end of the day, it's very thematic, and everything that you're doing in this game just makes sense. So let me just show you if I can find a decent picture. Very quickly, the theme of the game is that you run this galactic cruise company and you're building these rockets with these fun, I can't see this, jet something, an ice cream emporium, and a beanbag thing, and paintball, and all these different rooms that are going to go inside your rocket, and then you're going to attract different sorts of guests to put on the spaceship. And then of course along the way there's a lot of engineering, blueprint drafting, advertising, engineering, hiring that goes into it as well, resource management here. And essentially it's a worker placement game, and then eventually your shuttles take off and they go on these itineraries hopping around to different planets, and you gain rewards from that. So I'm not pitching it terribly clearly, but it's an amazing game, and I'm so excited to get the game in February, I believe, so I can finally play it again. But that's Galactic Cruise. Number 4 is an older game that I spent 12 hours as well playing this past year, and it's Everdell. I actually just played it with some friends the other day and clocked a few more hours on this game. But Everdell, as you may or may not know, is a wonderful game from 2018. I splurged on the collection, on the collector's edition back in the day, and I'm so glad that I did, because this game has seen so much playtime. Obviously, it is a game in which you play as these anthropomorphic animals, and you're just trying to build the best city by attracting historians who live in the clock tower and fools that live in the fairgrounds. You actually don't want the fool, it's a skunk, and it gives you -2 points, and the teacher goes to the school, and essentially you're going to be collecting resources by putting out your workers. See, this mouse is getting 2 resin, and then you pay those resources to build the buildings and attract the critters to your city. And at the end of the game, whoever has the best city, as represented by points, wins. And I was lucky enough to play with the what's it called? The all-in, the expansive deluxe bundle that my friend has. So that was really neat to see how incredibly neatly it's organized, and the upgraded tree and all the expansions are in there. So we got to play with New Leaf, which is the train expansion, but I also have been playing with, oh gosh, I wanted to say Mistwind. It's called Nightweave is the solo opponent. Mistwood is the other expansion that was sent to me from the folks at Tabletop Tycoon. So I did a lot of Everdell playing this past year, and it's such a good game. It still holds up as a phenomenal, not too heavy, family-friendly-ish worker placement game. It's awesome. Number 3 was a huge surprise to me because I would not have ever guessed that it would be this high on the list, especially with only 6 plays, but it's a game called Paladins of the West Kingdom from Garphill Games, one of my favorite board game designer, publisher companies. So, Paladins of the West Kingdom is in the West Kingdom trilogy, of which I think Viscounts is my favorite. I really like Architects as well. Paladins is probably my second favorite in the series. Now, I don't own this game, but my friend was kind enough to let me borrow it. My friend Ryan was. And I played it 4 times solo, which is where most of these plays were logged. But essentially in this game, you're also doing worker placement. But you've got these really interesting color-coded workers that do different things. And I know they all have different names. There's like, I don't know, rogues and warriors and merchants maybe. I forget what they're called. But anyway, different color workers do different things. And you put them out to gain coins and provisions, and then go over here to kind of streamline your engine by making it cost less. And then you're building walls, and you're attacking people, and you're converting them as well. And it's got this whole kind of, Crusades theme going on. So these are some of the people that you'll recruit to give you stronger powers. And maybe the crux of the game is that you're moving up these different tracks. There's faith and strength and initiative or something, blue, black, and red. And that's a huge part of the game because as you move up those different tracks, you have access to better and better buildings. You can, attack stronger and stronger opponents, things like that. But yeah, really solid game. Paladins, it's been out for a while. It's a 2019 game, but I really, really enjoy it. And apparently played it a ton in 2024. So there you go. Number 2 with 13 hours logged was Divinus. So this was a big campaign game that we started this year with my friends Faye and Connor and Gary. And we did 8 sessions of this game, and then we finally called it quits, which I almost never, ever like to do with any sort of campaign legacy game. But we got to the point where we were just playing it just to play it. And I think that we were all thinking there's so many other games that we'd rather be playing, unfortunately. And why are we still playing Divinus, So we just kind of called it quits. And I do want to point out, this is going to sound a little harsh, but if you look at the games in my top 10 here, we've got an 8.0, 8.3, let me take a look here. I think Brussels was also in the 8s, 8.0. 8.0, Concordia is 8.1, Galactic Cruise, it's not out yet, but 8.2. You notice a trend here, right? Everdell 8.0, Paladins 8.0, and then Divinus, if you look at the ratings, is at 6.8. So you'll notice there's a bit of a drop here in the BGG ratings, which obviously take it with a grain of salt, but I think that there's other people who felt like this game just felt a little flat. So basically this is a dice placement game, kind of tile drafting. You're going to use your dice to access tiles from out here in the market and add them to your own tableau. And to be honest, earlier in the campaign, I was really loving this game and I was doing really good at it as well, which probably helped. But yeah, I love this kind of game. I mean, it's very Isle of Skye-esque, where you're connecting the mountains and the grasslands and the water. And then there's these different icons on there, like there's Viking barbarian skulls, and then the Greeks and the Romans, which is the whole theme of the game, is that you're fighting alongside the gods of the Greek and Roman pantheon and trying to basically appease or ingratiate yourself with one of the other gods. So that's what's happening thematically. And at the end of each game, you're going to kind of punch all your stats and scores into the app, and then it's going to give you benefits and bonuses and tell you what to do for the next game. So it had a lot of potential. I think that and I hate to go on about this, but I probably won't talk about it too much ever again. Let's see. One Okay, so the rulebook was not super well designed or organized. We had so many issues that we had to go on BGG to look for in the forums. That is not super fun. And with a campaign legacy game, I guess that's what it was. It's so high stakes if you make a mistake, and sometimes we just could not find a rule clarification, and that can be very frustrating because we're all very meticulous rule followers, again, especially in a game that is permanent. You know, you're putting stickers on the board and stickers on your dice, and it's hard to go back and fix things if you fix it. So that was a problem. Two, it didn't feel very thematic. I know some of my friends really were attracted to this game because of the whole, Zeus and Thor and the whole theme of these gods, and that maybe didn't come through quite as much. And maybe mechanically, it just kind of got a little bit stale. I mean, we were adding, of course, new elements and mechanisms and rules every time, but I don't know, maybe just the gameplay wasn't changing enough to keep our interest. So anyway, for whatever it's worth, and truly, I was very much enjoying this, and it was really ranked very high in one of the videos I did once when I talked about the games that I played in the past month. But yeah, after a certain point, after 8 plays, I think we were ready to call it quits. So that was Divinus, but now we get to talk about my number 1, which I better stop the video because it's just about out of memory. All right, so the number 1 game that I spent the most time with in 2024, 17 plays, 18 hours logged, almost all of them solo, was a game called Mythwind. Oh, I should not be tipping this, I just realized. We'll talk about it. It's a game called Mythwind, and it's a wonderful solo or cooperative, cozy, atmospheric, relaxing, almost Animal Crossing or, that sort of ambiance environment game, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So let's take a look at the game. And I shouldn't be tipping the box over because the save system is that you have all these tokens and pieces and chits on a grid, and then you put the plastic cover on it like this and then put it in the box. So you don't want to be tipping it sideways. Mythwind. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyways, in this game, you get to play as one of many, many different characters, and I have the expansion as well. You've got, this is not in English, you've got the farmer, you've got the explorer, you've got the innkeeper, you've got the merchant, you've got the maybe the hunter. There's a whole bunch of different occupations, and you're going to be playing through seasons and exploring this land called Mythwind. So you take your little figure, you take some coins, you grab your little, board, custom board, and your own components. Everybody has a completely asymmetric play style, which is a little bit tricky when you're learning the rules because there's a lot to wrap your head around. But essentially, you're going to be looking at this blank board that's almost completely barren with just some few starter buildings like a tavern and, a school or whatever. And then throughout the course of the game, each player is going to be doing their own thing using these dice. You have fairy dice or pixie dice, and then you have human villager dice. And you're going to put them out to different locations to activate different things, maybe to gain some coins, maybe to go on a little adventure, flip some cards, explore some events, things like that. And sometimes you'll put them on your own player board to do your own unique things, like the farmer is going to plant some crops, and the trader maybe is going to do obviously some trading, and there's a crafter who can make backpacks and boots and things like that. And then as you go throughout the story, there's going to be these kind of legacy story cards that come up, and it tells this whole story, and I can't find a decent picture of the whole board. It's going to tell this story about the land of Mythwind and how there's these fairy sprites, is the word, that kind of live in the area, and there's a sort of mystery surrounding this big tower in the distance, which becomes revealed as you go through the game. So this is a game that as soon as I got it, I was absolutely truly obsessed, enthralled. I was up till 1, 2 in the morning on a school night, sitting down here with my Lord of the Rings, Hobbit Shire ambiance going. And I was just so immersed in this game and learning how to maximize my character, who was the farmer for most of my plays. And it's just so satisfying because the whole game is just this building, engine, maximizing thing. And there's a sense of growth and progression, which is really satisfying. So in the beginning, your first few games, you're not getting a lot done. And you get to the end and be like, wow, we did almost nothing that first year or whatever. But as you keep on going, right? And you're, upgrading your hoe and doing some irrigation systems and getting some cows out there and learning how to plow and manage your fields better and getting rid of some of this bramble brush, right? You can really get this maximized, optimized farm going, which gives you lots of money, and money is the way that you're going to build these upgrades, build these buildings. You've got the delicatessen, you've got the hotel, you've got the fishing port, all these different things. And as you build them, again, the story is going to progress. You're going to increase your I forget what it is, commerce, your reputation, your income, your engineering, all these different traits of your town, which is phenomenal. So it's not without its flaws. The rule books were not super clear, especially for some of the occupations, which they've kind of revamped with a second printing. I think that is recently fulfilling, maybe on Kickstarter or whatever. So they have changed that, adapted a little bit. And then, to be honest, so I played it, what did I say, 17 times, which by the way is a lot. There's not many games in my collection, at least over here, that have been played that many times. So kudos to the game for keeping my interest so long. Hannah also joined me for some of those plays as well. I think it got to a point where I guess the story just wasn't progressing very quickly. And maybe it's because I was playing solo, so it was just me that had to activate, that had to progress the storyline. And you have to really consciously do that instead of doing other actions on your turn. So I was trying to progress the storyline. I eventually took on the role of the ranger because I noticed that he could just play through the years really fast. And I just wanted to see what was happening with that tower, with these sprites, with this mystery of this valley. And yeah, and take it with a grain of salt. It's just my experience, but it got to a point where I just felt like the story wasn't really, developing in a super satisfying or efficient or timely way, I guess. So I did save everything. I do want to come back to it at some point. I just, felt like I needed a break to play some other games. But anyway, it's Mythwind. Somebody just asked in my last video, they said which of these games would you think is the most relaxing, immersive, cozy, peaceful sort of game? And I was like, you need to look into Mythwind. It's all of those things and more. So if you want that sort of Stardew Valley, I guess, right? Calming, relaxing, cooperative game, you should definitely look into Mythwind. And that was my number one game I spent the most time with this past year. And by the way, thank you so much to, it's Open Owl Studios for sending me this game. I got that as a review copy. So thank you so much for giving me such an amazing, immersive experience. So many hours spent playing this wonderful game. So thank you to Open Owl Studios. And there you have it, folks. Another fast-paced, bumbling, chaotic video, but I hope that you enjoyed checking out some of my most played games of 2024, my most played, my most beloved, my most enjoyed games in my collection. And please let me know your most played games of this past year. Of course, you know that I respond to every single comment down there already. So make sure you let me know. Maybe we've got some overlap in our favorite games. And if you didn't watch last week's video about my favorite new to me games of 2024, you can check that out right there. If you want to see my last top 10 games live stream, you can check that out right there. If you want to see my Mythwind review, you can check that out right there. And in the meantime, have a wonderful year. Take care and happy gaming. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.